What businesses do well in a recession? Right? So if you're in a hard time, you probably want to know that my business is going to be okay. Or what if hard times come? Is my business going to survive this? That's what we're going to talk about. Some things are unpredictable, but if we can make some predictions, let's do it. Okay, so I want you to ask yourself a question. What do people need in a recession? Or like we just recently had a pandemic. What did people need when this pandemic hit and the shutdowns happened? So during the shutdown of the pandemic, my business thrived, but I had other colleagues that their business completely disappeared. And that's terrible to see. So when I think about it, why did my business succeed? Well, I help people make more money in their business. I help businesses market themselves so that they can do better. And in addition to marketing, I consult with a lot of my clients so we can look at their business. And so I help businesses thrive and I help their revenues increase. So in my mind, it makes sense why my business was still successful. People still needed me. But if I were to contrast that with, say my business just provided something that's a luxury, that if people are in tight times, they're going to cut back on some of those luxuries. If they're paying a monthly service to me and they don't really need it, they might cut it out until times are good again. And boy, we could have never predicted this, but if all my revenue came from public speaking and then we're not allowed to go into the public anymore, man, those were some of my friends that just their business disappeared for a couple of years. So I thought something that would be helpful is what if we take a look at a variety of different careers or businesses that you could create and just see how would it do during a recession. So the first one that I thought of is kind of my business, videography. There's probably different types of videography. Some will do better than others. If it's wedding videography, people are still going to get married, I think, during hard times. So if there's a recession, there's still people that are going to need wedding videography. I would assume it would still do well. Just thinking out loud here, I remember when I got married, my mother-in-law really wanted to spend a lot of money on things for our photographer and stuff like that. So that's why I would make that assumption. We've kind of already talked about my business, which is more marketing type video. But what if you did a filming business where you just created like stories, like family history type stuff that's beautiful, that's important, but not quite as urgent? People might put that on the back burner. I don't know. So maybe you could take that both ways. The next idea is, what about a landscaping business? Like we all love beautiful landscaping. We want to take care of our yards, but in a recession, I wonder if more people are going to start mowing their own lawns. Then when times are good, they can then hire the landscaper. I thought about my client, Noelle Randall. She's got a lot of vacation rental properties, like Airbnb properties. And we know that during the pandemic, people started traveling a lot less. Things were shut down. And in her case, it could have gone both ways. I talked to my neighbor who owns a lot of hotels, and he said he went from 100% occupancy down to 15% occupancy for a couple of years. He said that was very, very tough. So I could see maybe a similar thing happened to Noelle. I haven't actually asked her, but I could also see the opposite. If people aren't staying in hotels, maybe there are some that need to find an accommodation, and maybe Airbnb still work. I really don't know. I know personally, I traveled a lot less during that time, and so I wasn't staying in either hotels or Airbnbs as often as I normally did. Now, the next two that I wrote down as I was brainstorming this are coaching and speaking. Now, speaking was hugely impacted, but some of my colleagues found out how to do it virtually. They got all the equipment, they figured out how to live stream and make themselves look professional, and they created videos to demonstrate that to people, to event planners, and they actually created a new space while other people just kind of were the victim. And they said, well, I guess I can't do public speaking anymore because people aren't hiring for that. So part of it was circumstance. The circumstance definitely hit that industry really, really hard. But the other part of it is kind of innovation and willing to figure it out and work through problems. I had one more example I wrote down, and that's a restaurant. I mean, if we're closed down because of a pandemic and people can't go to public places like that, a restaurant is going to be hit hard. But I also saw restaurants that thrived. They figured out how to do home delivery and no contact delivery. From this own exercise, I've learned from myself that some businesses might be prone to being hurt in a recession, but another factor that plays into it is our own innovation and our ability to adapt and to adjust. Now, I have another thought to share, and I'm curious what your opinion is, because business to consumer things, my assumption would be that a lot more B2C businesses would struggle, whereas B2B would be more successful. So if you have a hard time, if you offer services like I do, because I do B2B, and that's kind of why I have this assumption, maybe B2B services as a whole are more likely to, be just fine or thrive. Whereas B2C businesses, where you have products that you sell to consumers, it obviously depends on what those products are or what those services are. But I wonder, tell me what your thoughts are. Okay, let's switch gears for a minute here and talk about some advantages, because during a recession, prices go down on some things. Like if I have a piece of real estate and I love where it's at a high value, and during a recession, the price on that goes down, that's not a good thing. But if I look at it from a buyer's perspective, having prices go down is great. So it's at a recession, it's at the bottom point that I want to buy. And that's the case for a lot of commodities. I mean, when you have inflation go up, there's a lot of factors go in there, and I'm not an economist, but if there are businesses that are struggling and trying to innovate and create new ways, they'll put out promotions and offers out there where you can actually benefit and have access to things that maybe we wouldn't have been able to before. So another thing that I thought about is the employment rate. And maybe in a recession, there's less people employed, so the employment rate drops. Well, that means that there's more people looking for work. So if I'm a business owner and I want to hire somebody, the pool of people available, that would be an advantage to me. I've got more people potentially willing to work for less pay. So I'm in the video business, the YouTube business, and I could not have predicted what was going to happen, but fortunately video ended up doing very well. And now that I look back at it, retrospect, I can see, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. If you can't meet face to face with people, then video is the next best thing. Whether we've got live streams or video, but my YouTube content that I filmed in years previous to the pandemic, those videos still continue to perform during the pandemic. So maybe, travel is an issue and I can't film new episodes. Well, all the episodes that I filmed in the past, we're still getting results. So I have a gift for you. I want to introduce you to my book here. It's a Hero's Guide to Influence on YouTube. Now, I put 2 years of work into creating this book and packing all of my strategy into it. All the dozens of channels that I produce, I took you behind the scenes and created a full color book to teach you that strategy so that you can get the same results as well. And I want to give this to you for free. You just have to cover my costs, okay? So if you go to natesyoutubebook.com and you just cover the cost and the shipping cost to get that to you, then that's my gift to you.